Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great and safe and happy day today and keeping yourself safe in our modern COVID world. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the second book in the Ethshar series with a single spell. I've already done Misenchanted Sword for you, which is the launching pad of this series by Lawrence Watt Evans, a Hugo Award winner, published by Del Rey, which is one of the heavy hitters and so forth. This series, as I mentioned in the previous video, really focuses in on the personal side of high science fiction. I'm sorry, high fantasy rather, but not on the epic side. So if you're interested in reading stories that are about personal explorations, personal journeys, personal growth, and that sort of thing, set in the sort of a science fiction, I'm sorry, I gotta stop saying science fiction, set in this fantasy world, then this is exactly the sort of series that you'll want to take a look at. Also, this series never takes itself too seriously either. It has jokes, it's funny, it has funny situations. It's really more of a sitcom than it is like jokey. So the key point here is that your guy is an apprentice to a wizard, and he knows one spell, and his one spell that he knows is how to ignite something that's flammable. He can't ignite something that's not like a rock or something like that. It'll just shoot sparks off. It has to be something flammable in order for it to work, and that's the only spell that he knows. And then his master dies. So now what do? How do you make your way in the world today? He doesn't know enough spells to sell them. He doesn't know how to make love potions. He doesn't know how to track items down that have gotten lost. He doesn't know the traditional wizard sort of things that a traditional wizard in Ethshar would know how to do. He's too old to get another master. He's too far along. So what does he do now? And that's the central question of this novel. And it's an incredibly good question. How is our young apprentice going to survive in a world where all he knows is how to set something that's flammable on fire? And that's it. That's the only spell he knows. How do you do that? It's basically a cantrip that he knows how to use. And that's it. And that central sort of concept is, I think, carried through very well. You're not going to spend 30 pages on it and then 40 pages in, and then on the 40th page suddenly he's got a spell book and he's casting 50,000 spells. That doesn't happen, right? Lawrence Watt Evans, his plot is true to the central point and the central concept of this story. What does happen when an apprentice his master dies, when he only knows one basic cantrip spell? What does that look like? How does he survive? What happens next? That sort of thing. So you'll be involved with that story. And you'll follow this character along as he moves from place to place to place on this sort of journey of discovery, of trying to figure out what he's going to do next, of survival, and so forth. And again, this is a very personal story. So if that's what you're looking for, or if you're used to sort of your high fantasy, I said it right that time. If your high fantasy has these sort of high profile clashes like good versus evil, law versus chaos of Michael Moorcock, or good versus evil of Tolkien, right? And those sorts of things. Now you might be interested in what a more personal take would be like. And all these Ethshar series books have these sort of a normal person in an unusual situation, and what happens next, and how does that person grow? How does that person develop? The first book in the series was a scout for an army that's been in a war that's been going on for hundreds of years, who doesn't want to kill anybody, and for the first few years he hasn't killed any of the enemy. He's been lucky, and then he's blessed and cursed with a sword that is extremely bloodthirsty, and it will force him to change who he is as a result. And he doesn't like it at all. He resists it the entire time. The next book in the series, The Unwilling Warlord, has a guy who is super secretly, without knowing it, he's been born into poverty, but he is super secretly this heir to this warlord of a country that's in the small kingdoms, and they kidnap him and take him back. He has no army. They're at war with like 3 nearby neighbors, and so forth. And if he leaves his post, they'll kill him for treason. So what does he do? And these sorts of, unusual situations, what do you do now sort of scenarios are what makes this series and set this series apart from most other high fantasy series. That's why I like it. And I've gone back to it. I read this book with a single spell once when I was in high school. I've gone back to it, read it again. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a fun, central read. It doesn't take too long. You'll enjoy it, and so forth. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you there. Have you read with a single spell? If you did, what did you think of it? What did you think of my review of it? Anything you agreed or disagreed with, or any of the sort of details in the plot you like to talk about in the below comments? I'd be happy to do that with you further. If you like this video, please feel encouraged to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be so many more of these to follow. And finally, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and watching my video. We all have so many things happening in our lives, right? So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling. And I really do appreciate that. So thanks again and have a great day.